This is another clip on our Golden Thread curriculum materials, Gospel Nonviolence curriculum materials. This piece is about map work. So along with the timeline, and we help the children orient people through time following Jesus, we also help children be oriented through the whole world, that there are nonviolent followers of Jesus throughout the whole world. So we will do one of the boxes connected to the map, in space instead of time. The materials are, all the 38 people are divided into, I believe, 7 boxes. And they can be mixed and moved around as necessary. That's when I'm working with the group. If it was only in a home setting, I might not have them in boxes at all. I might just use individual ones and have a way of organizing it. So the adults at home, for home use, will need to work with whatever is best for them. So in this situation, it's as if it's a group, and I'm taking box 2 just to orient us to maps. So we start out with the picture cards and the labels. We'll use the labels right away because of needing to know where these people were from. So the first card happens to be someone that I know to be Cesar Chavez. The child might take the card to the chart, look up the name, and then find the name on the label card, Cesar Chavez. So Cesar Chavez label card says farm workers leader, 1927 to 1993 in California. So I take out a stand, I put him near the United States, and I put his label there. And because there's a lot of people, I might move him out farther like this with a little stick pointing to California. So the child automatically knows there was a person named Cesar Chavez from California who was a nonviolent follower of Jesus. Right now, they don't know anything else about that person. The persistence and interest and enthusiasm of the adult helps the child also be enthusiastic and going deeper into the story. So nothing takes the place of the adult's ongoing research and involvement with the content. One of the things that can be done is getting a book of Cesar Chavez's speeches out of the library, or looking up on the internet something about him, so that there's picture cards and other content to flesh out knowledge. So right now we're just orienting people to space. The next card I know to be Maximilian. So I pick up the card that goes with it. He's a conscientious objector. He lived in the year 274 to 295 in Algeria. The child, of course, would go to the chart to find him. Algeria is in Africa. Let me speak a little bit about this. The Montessori always orients even very young children to the world by having puzzle maps of every country, of every continent. So the continent of South America is a puzzle map. They learn very young to build that puzzle and the names of countries. So that's part of the reason why, because location and cultures and openness to life and people is so important in the nonviolence. If your child doesn't have that background, you can just begin building it in by getting maps from different countries, getting National Geographic pictures of people from different countries, and help orient them to places around the world and the varieties of people and flora and fauna, creatures and plants from all over to build in what we need to have a respect for life in a fullness. So right now, we can see that even young children who've had that background of familiarity with countries and continents will be able to do this map work, and we give the helps for those who haven't had that yet. That's all that means. So Mother Teresa, Missionaries of Charity founder, 1910 to 1997, India. So we move Mother Teresa over to India. And we'll put a pointer out for her. Peter Morin. He is from New York. He was a co-founder of the Catholic worker movement. He lived in the late 1800s into the 1900s. Was a comrade of Dorothy Day. Saint Francis of Assisi. He was from Italy. He was a founder, that means the creator of the Franciscan order. And he lived in the late 1181 to 1226. So we'll put him in Italy, which is a country in Europe. So since this is the first time a child, is the example of, the first time a child is using this box, and they chose to orient towards map instead of time, towards space instead of time, we're going to just move forward getting to know the people as we did with the first box. And I do that by reading the biography cards, reading the object cards, and putting out the object. So St. Francis of Assisi is known as the Peace Saint. He wanted everyone to enjoy God's loving presence. He wanted everyone to live in peace with each other and even with the animals. Francis lived such a pure life, a life free from worry and concern for possessions and worldly cares, that God's love and power flowed freely through him. So many people were attracted to Francis's joyfulness that Francis started a group, a religious order called the Franciscans. There are still many Franciscans today. Peter Morin and Dorothy Day started the Catholic worker movement in 1933. Peter shared his deep understanding and love for the Catholic faith with Dorothy, who was a newly baptized Catholic. Peter encouraged Dorothy Day to start the Catholic Worker newspaper so more people could know Catholic social teaching. He also brought the ideas of clarification of thought, living the works of mercy, farming communes, and houses of hospitality to the Catholic worker movement. Maximilian lived close to the time of Jesus. He was the son of a soldier in the Roman army. He was expected to go into the army like his father, but Maximilian had become a Christian. He wanted to love his enemies. Maximilian died for his faith. No one could force him to change his mind. I am a Christian. I cannot fight. I cannot do what is wrong. Most of the fruits and vegetables we eat come from far away where the climate is perfect for plants. When Cesar Chavez was a farm worker, the growers wanted to make as much money for the crops as they could, even though they didn't pay the pickers fairly. Cesar Chavez made sure everyone knew about this problem. Caesar's love for Jesus helped him be strong in speaking the truth. Caesar's love for Jesus helped him to stay nonviolent even when the pickers were treated harshly. Jesus is the nonviolent Lamb of God. Caesar had to be nonviolent too. Mother Teresa is the tiny nun who worked with the poorest of the poor in India. She did not believe in using war to fix problems. War, and even getting ready for war, keep the gifts of the earth from the poor who need them to live. Mother Teresa knew the works of mercy, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, offering shelter to the homeless, caring and praying for the dying, forgiving and comforting others. She knew they were the way of Jesus' nonviolent love. So now we move on to the objects that help us to remember and tell the story. So right now we'll notice this is a bandage. This is a rough brown garment. This is a measuring tape. This is a bunch of grapes and a wrinkly old jacket, coat. So we can start to wonder who has which object. Okay. There are many ways to heal suffering and many types of suffering to be healed. Mother Teresa brought the love of Jesus to the poor by offering food and bandages for their wounds and a place to die. So for Mother Teresa, we're going to move this bandage. She was always helping people heal in whichever way they needed. Francis of Assisi didn't want the beautiful cloths his father sold. Francis chose the humble brown cloth of a beggar. That's what goes with nonviolent love of Jesus. So St. Francis, we'll move all of these closer to Francis. Peter Morin, a very educated man, understood Jesus really meant what he said in the Sermon on the Mount. So Peter lived simply and gave to others freely, even his own bed to sleep in. Peter frequently slept in his clothes on a park bench. So we use the wrinkly coat for Peter Morin. Maximilian was sent by his father to be measured for his soldier's uniform. But Maximilian had become a Christian. He could not fight. No uniform was made for Maximilian. He was put to death rather than join an army that kills people loved by God. So we use the measuring tape. It helps us to remember that Maximilian refused to wear the uniform and do the deeds of the military. Cesar Chavez gathered his co-workers together so they could let the world know about the serious problem the grape pickers were having. Working together with nonviolent love, an answer was found. So, a bunch of grapes for Cesar Chavez. Of course, the stories, the biographies go a little bit deeper into the life of these people and the work of the adult in researching and out of their own curiosity adds content for the children they're working with.